One more thing. No trace. I don't want anyone connecting this to us. Make it look like an accident. No matter how much you dress up, you're still just a nobody. And you're still the daughter of a woman who married a man old enough to be her grandfather for money.
Kim Leo, I care about you. You know I do. But I can't...
Don't answer tonight. Just let me show you what it could be like. I'm Lion.
Melissa.
Nice to meet you, Melissa. Even if it is at a party neither of us wants to be at.
Tonight, we're gonna remind you exactly where you belong. Touch me and I will make you regret it.
How dare you try to have those men hurt me? How dare you think you can touch me?
It's okay. You're okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to see that. I couldn't.
You didn't have to do that, Gavin.
Yeah.
Across the city, in a penthouse that overlooked the glittering skyline of Seoul, Seo Yun sat in front of her vanity mirror. The room was immaculate, white marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, fresh flowers on every surface. But Seo Yun wasn't looking at the flowers. She was looking at her reflection, and her reflection was smiling. She picked up her phone, her fingers steady, her voice smooth like honey laced with poison. Is everything in place? The voice on the other end was low, professional. Yes, the car is on the road now. They're coming back from the event. We know the route. Seo Yun's smile widened. She picked up a lipstick from her vanity, twisting it slowly, watching the deep red color emerge. Good. Make sure it's done tonight. I don't want any mistakes. No mistakes. It will look like an accident. It better. She paused, her eyes narrowing at her reflection. What about the woman? The wife? What about her? She's in the car with her son. I want both of them gone. Tonight. No survivors. Do you understand me? There was a pause on the other end. Then, understood. Seo Yun leaned closer to the mirror, examining her face. She was beautiful. She had always been beautiful. But beauty hadn't been enough. For years, she had been the mistress. The secret. The woman the president visited when his wife was busy, when he needed someone who would never ask for more than he was willing to give. But she was tired of being the secret. She had a son too. An 8-year-old boy who deserved to be the president's heir. Who deserved to grow up in the spotlight, not in the shadows. And now, finally, she was going to make that happen. One more thing, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. No trace. I don't want anyone connecting this to us. Make it look like an accident. A car malfunction. Something that happens to wealthy families all the time. Of course. You'll read about it in tomorrow's papers. Seo Yun hung up the phone and set it down carefully, like it was made of glass. She looked at her reflection again, and this time, she let herself really smile. Finally, she whispered. Finally, it's my turn. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. Somewhere out there, the president's wife was in a car with her son. Somewhere out there, their lives were about to end. And tomorrow, Seo Yun would be there to comfort the grieving president. To remind him that he still had her. That he still had their son. She picked up a glass of champagne from the table beside her and raised it to her reflection. To the future, she said. To my future. 10 kilometers away, a black luxury sedan moved through the night. Inside, 10-year-old Lion Kang was pressed against the window, watching the city lights fade behind them. He was tired. The event had been long, hours of people bowing to him, shaking his hand, calling him young master like he was something special. He didn't feel special. He felt like a puppet. A boy with a famous father who everyone wanted to impress. Mom, I ate too much today, he said, rubbing his stomach. Everyone kept giving me food. I couldn't say no. His mother, Lady Kang, laughed softly. She reached out and brushed his hair back from his forehead. You could have said no, my love. You don't have to eat everything people give you. But they were being nice. And father said I should be polite to everyone. Being polite doesn't mean you have to do everything people ask. You'll learn that as you get older. She paused, her smile fading slightly. There are people who will be nice to you because they want something. You have to learn to see the difference. Lion frowned. Is that why everyone was nice to me today? Because they want something. His mother didn't answer immediately. She looked out the window, her face half illuminated by the passing streetlights. Some of them. Not all. Your father is a powerful man, Lion. And when you're the son of a powerful man, people will always want something from you. That's sad. Yes, she said quietly. It is. Lion looked at his mother's profile, at the way her shoulders seemed to carry a weight he couldn't see. He had noticed it more and more lately, that sadness that lived behind her eyes, even when she was smiling. He reached out and took her hand. "Mom." She looked at him. "I'm going to take care of you," he said, his voice fierce with childish conviction. "When I'm older, I'm going to be so powerful that no one will ever make you sad again. I promise." His mother's eyes glistened. She pulled him into a hug, holding him tight against her. "My brave boy," she whispered. "My good, brave boy." "I mean it," he said into her shoulder. "I'll make sure you're always happy. Always." She pulled back and looked at him, cupping his face in her hands. "You already make me happy, Lion. Every day. Just by being you." He smiled, and for a moment, he was just a 10-year-old boy who loved his mother, not the heir to a political dynasty. Then the car jerked. Lion's mother tensed. What was that? Up front, the driver's voice came through the intercom, tense and urgent. Something's wrong. The brakes aren't responding." "What do you mean they're not responding?" "I don't know. I'm pressing, but nothing's happening. The car, it's accelerating on its own." Lion's mother's arms tightened around him. Her voice was calm, but Lion could feel her heart pounding against his cheek. "What do we do?" "Security team ahead. They are pulling over. We're going to try to slow down using the..." A voice from the other car ahead, the security guard, cut in. "We have a problem. The steering, I can't control it. Someone's tampered with the car." The word tampered hung in the air like a bomb. Lion's mother reached for her phone, her fingers shaking as she dialed. She held it to her ear, waiting. Waiting. Pick up, please pick up." But there was no answer. Across the city, in that same penthouse with the floor-to-ceiling windows, the president's phone sat on a marble counter, its screen dark. His mistress had made sure of that. "Mom." Lion's voice was small now, scared. "What's happening?" His mother didn't answer. She was dialing another number now, her face pale in the dim light. "Mom, you're scaring me." The call connected. "Mother." Lady Kang's voice was strained. "Mother, listen to me. Something's wrong with the car. I don't know what's happening, but..." Lion heard his grandmother's voice on the other end, sharp with alarm. "What do you mean? Where are you?" "We're on the cliff road, heading back from the event. The brakes are gone. Someone did something to the car." Her voice cracked. "I don't think we're going to." A scream from the front seat. The security guard's voice. "We're going too fast." The turn. Lion's mother grabbed him, her arms like iron around his body. "Hold me, Lion. Hold me tight and don't let go." "Mom. I love you. I love you so much. Remember that. No matter what happens." The car hit the guardrail. Metal screamed against metal. The world tilted. Spun. Lion's head hit something hard, and for a moment, there was nothing but white light and the sound of his mother screaming his name. Then everything went black. Melissa bounced alongside her mother, her 8-year-old legs still full of energy despite the long day. Her little hand was wrapped tightly around her mother's fingers, swinging their arms back and forth as they walked. "Mummy, today was the best day ever," Melissa said, her voice bright and breathless with excitement. She looked up at her mother with wide, sparkling eyes. Her mother, Adana, smiled down at her daughter, though her shoulders sagged with exhaustion. Her feet ached from standing all day at the restaurant, but seeing Melissa this happy made everything worth it. "Yeah, tell me again what made it so special." Melissa let out a dramatic sigh, like she was about to tell the most important story in the world. "First, we went to the park. And I swung so high," she stretched her arm up to demonstrate. "I almost touched the clouds. And then we got ice cream, the one with the rainbow sprinkles. And then," she paused, her voice dropping to a whisper, "we saw the dancers." Adana chuckled. "The street dancers?" "Yes. And one of them said I had rhythm. He said I could be a dancer one day." Melissa stopped walking and did a little spin, her yellow dress flaring out around her. "Do you think I could be a dancer, Mummy?" "I think you can be anything you want to be, my love." Melissa's face glowed. She grabbed her mother's hand again and started walking, but now she was walking with a little bounce in her step, like she was already practicing her dance moves. "Mummy." "Yes, baby. Why haven't we done this before? Gone out, I mean. Just us. Having fun." Adana's smile softened, and something flickered in her eyes, a shadow of sadness that she quickly pushed away. She squeezed Melissa's hand. "Life has been hard, baby. After your father passed, I just wanted to keep you safe. Close to me. Sometimes grief makes us small, you know? It makes us forget that life is still happening outside our door. Melissa looked up at her mother, her young face serious in a way that seemed too old for her. But we went out today. We did. And we had fun. We did. Melissa nodded firmly, like she was making a decision. Then we should do it again. Maybe next week. Or tomorrow. Oh. Tomorrow I have work, baby. Then the day after tomorrow. Adana laughed, a real laugh that seemed to lift some of the weight from her shoulders. We'll see. I promise we'll do this again soon. They walked in comfortable silence for a moment. The highway was getting quieter now, fewer cars passing. Melissa started waving her free arm at every car that drove by, hoping one would stop. Cabbie, we need a ride, she called out, giggling each time a car zoomed past without stopping. You're going to wear out your arm before we even get a cab, Adana teased. But Mummy, my legs are tired. And you're tired too. I can see it. I'm fine, baby. Liar. Adana gasped dramatically. What did you just call your mother? Melissa giggled and ran ahead a few steps, then spun around to face her mother, walking backward. I said you're a liar. A beautiful liar. But still a liar. Adana shook her head, laughing. You are too smart for your own good. You know that. You get it from me. I get everything from you, Melissa said, her voice suddenly soft. She stopped walking and waited for her mother to catch up. When Adana reached her, Melissa wrapped her arms around her mother's waist and hugged her tight. I'm glad you're my mummy. Even when we didn't go out, I was still happy. Because I had you. Adana's eyes filled with tears. She knelt down, cupping Melissa's face in her hands. And I'm glad you're my daughter. My little light. My joy. She pressed a kiss to Melissa's forehead. Your father would be so proud of the girl you're becoming. Melissa hugged her mother tighter. I miss Daddy. I know, baby. I know. They stayed like that for a moment, holding each other in the middle of the quiet highway, two souls clinging to each other in the vast darkness. Then Melissa pulled back, her tears already forgotten in the way children's tears are. Okay, now can we please get a cab? My feet are officially dying. You are something else, you know that. I know, Melissa said proudly. They kept walking, and finally, in the distance, Melissa saw the orange glow of a cab sign. She started waving frantically. Mummy, cab, there's a cab. Adana saw it too, and she started waving as well. Over here, please. The cab was still far, but it seemed to be heading in their direction. Melissa hopped up and down, her excitement renewed. We're going home, we're going home, we're going home, she chanted. But then, crash. The sound tore through the night like thunder. Loud, violent, final. Melissa's chanting stopped. Her body froze. Her eyes went wide. Adana's hand tightened around hers, instinctively pulling her closer. What was that? Melissa whispered. L. Adana's face had gone pale. She stared into the darkness ahead, where the sound had come from. I don't know, baby. They stood there, listening. The night had gone silent again, but it was a different kind of silence now. Heavy. Charged. Something was wrong. Mummy, I'm scared. Adana looked down at her daughter, then back toward the darkness. She made a decision in that moment, a decision that would change everything. Stay close to me, she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. She started walking toward the sound, pulling Melissa along with her. Mummy, where are we going? I thought we were going home. Someone might need help, baby. We have to check. But, come on. Hold my hand tight. Don't let go. Melissa nodded, her small fingers gripping her mother's hand so hard her knuckles went white. She pressed close to her mother's side, her heart pounding in her chest. They walked toward the darkness, toward the unknown. Neither of them knew that on the other side of that darkness, another story was unfolding. A story of power and greed. Of a woman who wanted more than she was given. Of a woman willing to destroy anyone who stood in her way. They ran. Melissa's legs pumped beneath her, her sandals slapping against the asphalt. The night air rushed past her face, cold and sharp. Her heart was a drum in her chest, beating so fast she thought it might burst. They rounded a curve in the road, and then Melissa saw it. A car, a big, black, beautiful car, was hanging off the edge of the cliff. Its front wheels were over the drop, its back wheels still barely on the road, and it was tilting, like it might fall at any moment. Smoke poured from the hood. The windshield was shattered. One of the doors was hanging open, and Melissa could see two men in the front seat, slumped and still. Mummy, she whispered. Mummy, they are not moving. Adana's face was pale, but her voice was steady. Stay here, Melissa. Stay right here and don't move. Do you understand me? But Mummy, promise me. You stay here. I'll come back for you. Melissa's eyes filled with tears. I'm scared. Her mother knelt down, gripping her shoulders. I know, baby. I'm scared too. But those people need help, and I have to try. I have to. You understand? Melissa nodded, her chin trembling. Adana pressed a kiss to her forehead, quick and fierce. I love you. I'll be right back. Then she was gone, running toward the wrecked car. Melissa watched from the shadows, her small body pressed against the cold metal of the highway railing. She could see her mother approaching the car carefully, her hands out, her voice calling out to whoever might be inside. Is anyone alive? Can you hear me? A voice came from inside the car. Weak, but alive. Please, please help. Melissa's mother climbed onto the side of the car, her feet finding purchase on the twisted metal. She pulled open the back door, and Melissa could see inside now. There was a woman, beautiful even in the chaos, her dress stained with blood. And beside her, a boy. He was unconscious, his head tilted back, a cut on his forehead bleeding freely. Please, the woman inside begged. My son. Save my son. Please. Adana reached for the boy, her hands shaking. I'll get him out. I'll come back for you. No. No, don't come back. Just save him. Please. Someone did this. Someone wanted us dead. You have to save him. Adana's eyes met the woman's. In that moment, something passed between them, an understanding, a weight that neither of them had asked for but both would carry forever. I'll save him, Adana promised. I swear to you, I'll save your son. She pulled the boy out of the car, his body limp and heavy in her arms. He was small, but he was heavy with unconscious weight, and the car was tilting, shifting, groaning like a wounded animal. You have to get out of there, she called to the woman. I'll drop him and come back. Go. The woman's voice was a scream now. Go now. I can feel it moving. Adana jumped. The boy clutched against her chest. She hit the ground hard, her knees scraping against the asphalt, her arms locked around him so he wouldn't fall. Behind her, the car groaned, shifted, started to slide. Mummy. Melissa's scream tore through the night. Adana looked up, her eyes wide, and she saw her daughter running toward her, arms outstretched. Melissa, no. Stay back. The car exploded. Fire bloomed into the night sky, orange and red and terrible. The shockwave knocked Melissa off her feet, sent her tumbling across the asphalt. Her mother threw herself over the boy, shielding him with her body as the heat and the flames and the debris roared over them. When the world stopped spinning, Melissa lay on the ground, her ears ringing, her skin stinging. She pushed herself up, her hands shaking, and she saw her mother lying on the ground a few feet away, the boy still clutched against her. Mummy, she whispered. Mummy. She crawled to her mother, her knees scraping on the broken glass scattered across the road. Her mother's eyes were open, blinking slowly, and her hand reached out to touch Melissa's face. I'm okay, baby. I'm okay. You're bleeding. Adana looked down at her arm. There was a gash there, deep and bleeding, but she shook her head. It's nothing. I'm okay. Then they heard it. A gunshot. Loud and sharp, cutting through the ringing in Melissa's ears. Adana's head snapped up. Her face went pale. Someone's shooting. Who? I don't know. But we can't stay here. She looked down at the boy in her arms. He was still unconscious, his face peaceful in a way that seemed wrong, given everything that was happening. I have to get him out of here, she said, more to herself than to Melissa. Mummy, you're hurt. You can't. I have to, baby. I promised his mother. Another gunshot, closer this time. Melissa flinched, pressing herself against her mother. Adana struggled to her feet. The boy clutched against her chest. She looked down at Melissa, her face tight with pain and fear. We have to go. There's a boat dock down there. We can take it. But Mummy. Come on. Hold my hand. Don't let go. They ran. The boat rocked beneath them, small and unstable in the dark water. Melissa huddled in the corner, watching her mother struggle with the engine. The boy lay at her feet, still unconscious, his face pale in the moonlight. Come on, Adana muttered, pulling at the cord. Come on, come on, come on. The engine sputtered, coughed, then roared to life. Adana let out a breath, but it wasn't relief. She looked back toward the shore, where the fire from the crash still burned, and her eyes were scanning the darkness, looking for something Melissa couldn't see. They are going to come after us, she said quietly. Whoever did this, they are going to come after us. Melissa's voice was small. Who, Mummy? Adana didn't answer. She pushed the boat away from the dock, and they drifted out into the dark water, the engine humming beneath them. Mummy, you're bleeding a lot. Adana looked down at her arm. The gash was worse than she'd thought. Blood was running down her hand, dripping onto the floor of the boat. She pressed her hand against it, trying to stop the flow, but her face was going pale, her lips losing their color. It's okay, baby. I'm okay. You're not okay. Mummy, you're not okay. Melissa. Adana's voice was soft now, tired. Come here. Come sit with me. Melissa crawled across the boat and pressed herself against her mother's side. Adana put her arm around her, holding her close, even though she was trembling, even though her hand was slick with blood. I need to tell you something, Adana said. In case I don't. Don't say that. Don't say that, Mummy. Listen to me. Adana's voice was firm now, even though her body was weakening. This boy we saved. He just lost his mother. Did you see her in the car? Melissa nodded, tears streaming down her face. His mother is gone. And if I don't make it, you have to survive. Both of you. You have to survive. But you're going to make it. You said you would never leave me like Daddy. You promised. Adana's eyes filled with tears. I know I promised, baby. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She reached up and touched the pendant around Melissa's neck, a small silver heart that had been a gift from her father years ago, before everything changed. This pendant, she said. It's always brought you luck. It'll keep you safe. Keep it with you. Always. Take it, Melissa sobbed. You take it. You need it more than me. Adana shook her head. No, baby. This is yours. And I want you to know. I never regretted having you. Not for one day. Not even for 1 minute. You were my joy. My light. Even after your father died, you were the reason I kept going. Mummy, please. I wish I had made you more happy. I wish we had gone out more, had more days like today. I wish. Her voice broke. I wish I had more time with you. Melissa was crying so hard she could barely breathe. Don't leave me. Please don't leave me. I don't want to be alone. You're not alone, Adana whispered. You have him now. And he has you. Don't blame him for what happened, Melissa. If we were in his position, someone else would have done the same. Promise me you won't blame him. I promise. I promise, Mummy. Just please don't go. Adana smiled, a small, tired smile that broke Melissa's heart into pieces. I love you, Melissa. I love you more than anything in this world. And I'm so proud of you. So proud of the woman you're going to become. Her eyes started to close. Her arm went slack around Melissa's shoulders. Mummy. Mummy. No. 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 Mummy. Melissa screamed until her throat was raw, until her voice gave out and all that came out was a broken whisper. She shook her mother's shoulder, pressed her face against her mother's chest, listened for a heartbeat that wasn't there. But her mother was gone. She had slipped away in the dark water, on a stolen boat, carrying a stranger's son. Melissa sat there for a long time, numb, staring at nothing. The boat drifted, the engine still humming, taking them further from the shore, further from everything she had ever known. She didn't know where they were going. She didn't know what to do. She was 8 years old, alone on the water, with a dead mother and an unconscious boy who had just lost his mother too. She looked at the boy. He was still asleep, his face peaceful, his breathing steady despite the cut on his forehead. Something stirred in Melissa's chest, something that wasn't grief, not quite. It was connection, understanding. He had lost his mother tonight, just like she had. They were the same, him and her. Two children orphaned by the same terrible moment. She reached up and touched the pendant around her neck. Her mother's pendant. Her father's gift. The silver heart was warm against her fingers, still holding her mother's last touch. She pulled it over her head and looked at it in her palm. It caught the moonlight, gleaming softly. He needs it more than me, she whispered, as if her mother could still hear her. You said it brings luck. He needs luck. More than me. She leaned over and slipped the chain over Lion's head, settling the pendant against his chest. Be lucky, she whispered to him. You have to be lucky now. For both of us. Then she heard it. A boat engine, in the distance. Growing louder. Closer. And then, gunfire. The first bullet hit the water near the boat, sending up a spray of silver droplets. Melissa screamed, ducking down, covering her head with her arms. More gunfire. Melissa pressed herself against the floor of the boat, her arms around Lion, her body shaking. The boat hit something, a rock, a submerged log, and jerked violently. Lion's eyes fluttered open for a moment, just a moment, and Melissa saw him looking at her, his eyes unfocused, confused. Was that a girl? He thought, before darkness pulled him under again. The boat tipped, water rushing in, cold and shocking. Melissa grabbed Lion's arm, trying to hold on, but she was so small, so tired, and the water was pulling her down. She remembered what her mother had taught her in the pool at the community center years ago. If someone is drowning, you put your mouth on theirs. You breathe for them. She put her lips on his. Just for a moment. Just long enough to push air into his lungs. His eyes opened again, just for a second, and in that second, he saw her face. A girl with big eyes and a yellow dress, her hair coming loose from her puff balls, her lips pressed against his. Then a wave hit, and Melissa felt herself being pulled away, her fingers slipping from his arm, her lungs filling with water. She let go. She let the darkness take her. On the lower part of the cliff, hidden in the shadows, an old woman stood with two men, her face pale, her hands clenched at her sides. Lady Kang's mother. Lion's grandmother. She had heard everything. The call from her daughter. The crash. The gunfire. And now, she watched as a small boat exploded into pieces, as a figure in the water grabbed her grandson and dragged him to shore. Bring him, the grandmother commanded, her voice steady despite the tears threatening to fall. Bring my grandson to me. Now. The men moved quickly, lifting Lion's limp body and carrying him up the path to where a black van waited, hidden among the trees. The grandmother knelt beside him, touching his face, his hands, feeling for a pulse. It was there, weak but there. Where is the woman? She asked. The one who saved him. I heard a woman over the phone trying to save him. One of the men shook his head. We couldn't find her. Find her. If she saved my grandson, she deserves to live. She might be dead. The grandmother's jaw tightened. Find her. Or find her body. I want to know what happened tonight. I want to know who did this to my family. We need to go. There are more boats coming. The police. The president's men. The grandmother looked toward the water, where lights were appearing in the distance, boats approaching the crash site. She made a decision in that moment. A decision that would shape the next 18 years. Bring the boy we prepared. The one who looks like him. One of the men nodded and went to the van, returning with another boy, a boy of the same age, same build, dressed in similar clothes. He was dead, a child from the streets, chosen for this purpose, a sacrifice for a greater survival. Put my grandson's clothes on him. Put him in the water. Do it. As far as I'm concerned, my grandson died tonight. It's the only way to keep him safe. Whoever did this will come for him again if they know he survived. She looked down at Lion one more time, at the pendant around his neck. You will go to America, she whispered to him. You will grow up far from here. And one day, when it's safe, you will come back. You will come back and take what is rightfully yours. She turned to her men. Contact my friend in New York. Tell her I need her to raise my grandson. Tell her he is an orphan. He doesn't need to know who he is. Not until he's old enough to protect himself. She kissed Lion's forehead, her tears falling on his face. One day, she whispered. One day, you will remember everything. And you will come home. Up on the cliff, the president had arrived. He was a tall man, broad-shouldered, his face a mask of controlled fury. Behind him stood Seo Yun, her face pale, her hands pressed to her mouth in a show of grief that didn't reach her eyes. Find them, the president barked at his men. Find my wife. Find my son. Search every inch of this water if you have to. Search boats combed the water, their lights cutting through the darkness. Divers went in, searching for bodies, for survivors, for anything that could tell them what had happened. Mr. President, one of the divers called out, emerging from the water. We found a girl. She's unconscious, but she's alive. A girl. The president frowned. What girl? There were no girls in the car. We don't know, sir. She was in the water. She's young. 8, maybe 9 years old. Medics rushed forward as the girl was brought to shore. She was small, her yellow dress torn and wet, her hair loose around her face. Her eyes were closed, her skin pale, but her chest was rising and falling. Get her to the hospital, the president ordered. Keep her alive. I want to know who she is and why she was here tonight. Seo Yun watched from the shadows, her eyes narrowing. A girl. Who was this girl? And why had she been in the water? She pulled out her phone, her fingers moving quickly over the screen. What happened? She texted. Where is the boy? The response came quickly. A woman interfered. She saved the boy. We lost them in the water. Find them. Find them both and finish it. Working on it. Seo Yun slipped her phone back into her pocket and watched as the medics loaded the girl into an ambulance. Her face was calm, composed, but inside, her mind was racing. Who was this girl? Had she seen anything? Did she know anything? If she had, she would have to be dealt with. But for now, She had to play the part. The grieving mistress. The supportive partner. The woman who would be there for the president when his world fell apart. She walked to him, touching his arm, her voice soft. "We'll find them. We'll find your wife and son. I know we will." The president looked at her, his eyes hollow. "My wife is dead. I can feel it. And my son." He couldn't finish the sentence. Seo-yun pulled him into her arms, letting him lean on her, letting him believe she was his comfort, his solace. But over his shoulder, her eyes were cold, calculating. One more loose end to tie up, and then everything would be hers. For 3 days, the search continued. Divers combed the water. Boats trawled the coastline. The media camped outside the hospital, waiting for news, speculating about what had happened to the president's family. On the 3rd day, they found the bodies. The president's wife, her face peaceful despite the violence of her death. And beside her, a boy in a navy blazer. The president stood on the shore, his face blank, his body rigid. When they brought the boy's body to him, when he saw the face of the child they claimed was his son, something inside him broke. "My boy," he whispered. "My boy." Seo-yun was beside him in an instant, her arms around him, her face buried against his chest. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry. I'm here. I'm here." But over the president's shoulder, her eyes were fixed on the body of the boy and his mother. Finally, later, in the privacy of her penthouse, Seo-yun poured herself a glass of champagne. The city glittered below her, and she stood at the window, watching the lights, a smile spreading across her face. "Finally," she said, raising her glass to her reflection. "Finally, they are gone. All of them. The wife, the heir. Gone." She took a long drink, savoring the taste, savoring the victory. "And now," she continued, "my son will take his rightful place. My son will be the heir. And I will be the wife, the first lady, the woman who stood by the president when his world fell apart." She laughed, a cold, sharp sound that echoed off the marble walls. "To the future," she said. "To my future. To our future." Days later, Melissa woke up. The room was white, clean, quiet. Machines beeped beside her, and sunlight streamed through a window, warm on her face. She blinked, her eyes adjusting to the light, and for a moment, she didn't know where she was. Then the memories came flooding back. The crash. The boat. Her mother's face, going pale, her eyes closing. "Mummy," she whispered. "Mummy." The door opened, and a nurse came in, her face brightening when she saw Melissa awake. "You're awake. Oh, thank goodness. We were so worried about you. How are you feeling?" Melissa didn't answer. She was looking at the door, at the 2 men in suits who had appeared behind the nurse, at the cameras she could see through the window, at the chaos of the world that had found her. She remembered her mother's words. "We don't trust strangers. We don't get into cars with strangers." Who were these people? Could she trust them? She didn't even know where she was. "Where am I?" she asked, her voice small, hoarse. "You're in Seoul, at the president's private hospital. You were found in the water. Do you remember what happened?" Melissa's mind raced. The president's private hospital? The president? The man from the news? The powerful man? And the boy? Had they found him? Was he alive? She opened her mouth to ask, but something stopped her. Someone had tried to kill them. What if that person was here, ready to finish the job? She would trust no one for now. "I don't remember," she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her chest. "I don't remember anything. I just know my name. Melissa. My name is Melissa." The nurse looked concerned. "You don't remember what happened? How you got in the water?" Melissa shook her head, her eyes wide, innocent. "I don't remember anything. I just woke up here. I don't know where my mummy is. I don't know anything." The nurse exchanged a look with the men in suits. One of them left, presumably to report to someone. In the hallway, the president was waiting. "She's awake," the man reported. "But she says she doesn't remember anything. Only her name." The president frowned. "A child, found in the water where my family died. She must have seen something. She must know something. Maybe she really doesn't remember, sir. She was underwater for a long time. There could be brain damage." The president considered this. He looked through the window at the girl in the bed, small and fragile, her face turned toward the sunlight. "We'll keep her," he decided, "until she remembers. Until we know who she is and what she was doing there." "Sir," Seo-yun might object. "She's already expressed concern that the girl might be a spy." The president's jaw tightened. "Seo-yun doesn't make decisions in this house. I do. Keep the girl. Make sure she's comfortable. When she's well enough, She'll stay with us. Later that day, Seo Yun arrived at the hospital. She stood outside Melissa's room, her eyes fixed on the girl through the window. She doesn't remember anything, one of the nurses reported. The doctors say it's possible. The trauma, the time in the water. Her memory might come back, or it might not. Seo Yun's eyes narrowed. I don't like this. A girl appears out of nowhere, on the night my husband's family dies. It's too convenient. The president has decided she will stay with us. For now. Seo Yun's jaw tightened, but she kept her face calm. Of course. Whatever the president wants. She turned away from the window, her mind already working, already planning. If this girl had seen something, if she remembered something, she would have to be dealt with. But for now, it was better to keep her close. Watch her. Learn what she knew. And if she became a problem. Seo Yun's hand tightened on her purse. Problems could always be solved. On the other side of the world, in New York City, Lion woke up in a strange room. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know how he had gotten there. He didn't know who the woman was who came into the room, her face kind, her voice gentle. Good morning, Lion, she said. How are you feeling? He stared at her, his mind blank. He knew his name. He knew he was from Korea. But everything else was fog. Who are you? He asked. I'm a friend of your grandmother's. She asked me to take care of you. You're going to stay with me for a while. Until you're older. My grandmother. He touched the pendant around his neck. What is this? Where did it come from? The woman looked at the pendant, something flickering in her eyes. I don't know. It was with you when you arrived. Maybe it's from your mother. Do you remember your mother? Lion shook his head, his eyes filling with tears he didn't understand. I don't remember anything. The woman sat beside him on the bed, taking his hand. It's okay if you don't remember. You've been through a lot. For now, you just need to rest. To heal. Everything else will come in time. Lion looked out the window at the unfamiliar city, at the unfamiliar skyline. Weeks passed. Melissa was moved into the president's residence, a sprawling compound in the heart of Seoul. She had her own room, her own clothes, her own everything. But she was alone. The president was kind to her, in his distant way. He would visit her sometimes, sit with her, ask her if she remembered anything. She always said no, and eventually, he stopped asking. Seo Yun was different. She never missed an opportunity to remind Melissa that she didn't belong, that she was a charity case, that the president had taken her in out of pity, nothing more. You should be grateful, Seo Yun would say, her voice sweet but her eyes sharp. A girl like you, from nowhere, living in a house like this. Most people would kill for this life. Melissa learned to keep her head down, to say nothing, to watch. She learned that Seo Yun had a son, Kim Leo, a boy her age who was being groomed to take the place of the dead heir. She learned that Seo Yun was slowly, carefully, positioning herself to become the president's wife. And she learned that the boy she had tried to save was the president's son, the boy her mother had died for, was dead. She found out from the news, from the headlines that screamed president's son confirmed dead in tragic accident. She cried for hours that night, alone in her room, her face buried in her pillow. She cried for Lion, for the boy she had tried to save. She cried for her mother, who had died for nothing. She cried for herself, for the life that had been stolen from her. Weeks turned into months. Seo Yun married the president in a quiet ceremony, and she and her son moved into the main house. Melissa became an afterthought, a ghost in the halls, a reminder of a night no one wanted to remember. But Melissa didn't forget. She remembered everything. The crash, her mother's face, the boy she had tried to save, the pendant she had given him. And she remembered Seo Yun's face, that first night at the hospital, the way she had looked at Melissa with something that wasn't concern but calculation. She didn't know what Seo Yun had to do with that night. She didn't know if Seo Yun was involved. But something in her gut, something her mother had taught her, told her to be careful, to watch, to wait. So she waited. She grew up in that house, a shadow in the corner, a nobody in a family of somebodies. She learned to be invisible, to say nothing, to absorb the insults and the cruelty and the neglect. But she never forgot who she was. And she never forgot the boy. 18 years later. Madame Choi's hands moved gently through Melissa's hair, arranging the long black strands so they fell perfectly around her face. The older woman had been with the household for decades, and she had watched Melissa grow from a frightened child into a striking young woman. You look beautiful, Madame Choi said, her voice soft, warm. Absolutely beautiful. When Kim Leo sees you tonight, he won't be able to take his eyes off you. Melissa smiled at the older woman's reflection in the mirror. Madame Choi, you always say that. Because it's always true. Madame Choi set down the brush and placed her hands on Melissa's shoulders. Tonight, you go to the ball and you enjoy yourself. You dance. You laugh. You let yourself be young and happy. Promise me. Melissa's smile faded slightly. I'll try. Madame Choi turned her around, her wrinkled hands cupping Melissa's face. I know this house has been hard on you. I know Seo Yun has made your life difficult. But tonight, you are not the orphan girl they took in. Tonight, you are Melissa. Beautiful, strong, fearless Melissa. And you deserve to be happy. Something tightened in Melissa's chest. I don't know if I remember how to be happy. You will. I have faith in you. Madame Choi kissed her forehead. Now go. Your brother is waiting. Melissa laughed softly. He's not my brother. Not by blood, no. Madame Choi's eyes twinkled. But that boy has been looking at you like you're the son since you were both 12. Tonight, I think he might finally do something about it. Melissa shook her head, but she was smiling as she picked up her small clutch purse and headed for the door. Kim Leo Kang was waiting for her at the bottom of the stairs. He was tall now, broad-shouldered, his brown hair styled back from his face. In his black tuxedo, he looked every inch the heir to a political dynasty. But when he saw Melissa descending the stairs, his composure cracked. She was beautiful, more beautiful than he had ever seen her. The emerald gown clung to her curves, the color making her skin glow. Her hair fell in sleek black waves, and her lips were soft pink, her eyes lined with just enough makeup to make them seem enormous. He forgot to breathe. Melissa, he said, and his voice came out rougher than he intended. You look. She reached the bottom of the stairs and looked up at him, a small smile playing at her lips. I look what? He swallowed. Incredible. You look incredible. Thank you. She smoothed the front of her dress, suddenly self-conscious. You don't look so bad yourself, Kim Leo. Very handsome. He stepped closer, his hand reaching out to touch her arm. Shall we? She hesitated for just a moment, then nodded. We shall. In the car, Kim Leo couldn't stop looking at her. Melissa pretended not to notice, but she felt his gaze like a physical touch. She kept her eyes on the window, watching the city lights blur past. You're staring, she said finally, without turning around. I know. His voice was low, unashamed. Can you blame me? She turned to look at him, and something in his expression made her heart skip. There was heat there, and hunger, but also something softer. Something that had been building for years. Kim Leo. I know. He leaned back in his seat, but his eyes never left her face. I know you want to draw lines. I know you think we shouldn't. But you have to know, Melissa. You have to know how I feel about you. We're brother and sister. We're not related by blood. You know that. And I've never thought of you as my sister. Not once. Your mother. My mother is not here. And even if she were, I wouldn't care. He reached out and took her hand, his fingers warm around hers. I've waited 8 years to tell you this. 8 years of watching you, wanting you, waiting for the right moment. And I'm tired of waiting. Melissa's heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. Kim Leo, you can't just. Look at me. She did. I'm not asking for an answer tonight, he said, his voice softer now. I'm not asking for anything. I needed you to know. Before tonight, before all those people look at you and see what I've always seen. I needed you to know that you're mine. You've always been mine, even if you didn't know it. He lifted her hand to his lips and pressed a kiss to her knuckles, his eyes never leaving hers. Melissa's heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. She didn't pull away, but she didn't pull closer either. Kim Leo, she said quietly. I care about you. You know I do. But I can't. Don't answer tonight, he said. Just let me show you what it could be like. She looked at him, at the boy who had protected her from his mother's cruelty, who had stood up for her when no one else would, who had been her only ally in this house for 18 years. She wanted to say yes. She wanted to want him the way he wanted her, but something held her back, something she couldn't name. Okay, she said finally. His smile was like the sun coming out. The ball was held at the Grand Seoul Hotel, a towering monument to wealth and power that glittered against the night sky. As they stepped out of the car, cameras flashed, and Melissa felt the weight of 100 eyes on her. She had been to events like this before, always in the background, always the adopted daughter that no one quite knew what to do with. But tonight, Kim Leo kept her close, his hand on the small of her back, guiding her through the crowd. Inside, the ballroom was a sea of silk and diamonds, of powerful men and beautiful women, of whispered conversations and calculated smiles. Melissa had learned to navigate these waters years ago. She smiled when she was supposed to, nodded when she was supposed to, said nothing when silence was required. Melissa was beginning to loosen up. Kim Leo had gone with his friends, and she was enjoying a glass of champagne, watching the glittering crowd. Then she heard that voice. Well, look who got dressed up for the party. Tiara. They had gone to the same school, and Tiara had made sure to pressure Melissa every chance she got. She was beautiful, with wine-colored wavy hair and a sharp smile. She was the daughter of one of Seo Yun's friends, a girl who had decided early on that Melissa was beneath her. Tiara, Melissa said calmly, still trying to make yourself feel better by putting others down. Tiara's smile flickered. No matter how much you dress up, no matter how long you live in the president's house, you're still a nobody. Just someone they took in out of pity. Melissa's eyes narrowed, but her voice remained steady. And you're still the daughter of a woman who married a man old enough to be her grandfather for money, Melissa replied, her voice pleasant, conversational. The mention of her mother hit Tiara like a slap. Her face went white, then red. How dare you? How dare I what? Speak the truth. Melissa tilted her head, her eyes cold. I think we all have our crosses to bear. At least I'm living a better life than you. I am the president's daughter. Adopted or not, that will never change. Tiara laughed. Enjoy it while it lasts. And while we're on the subject, she stepped closer, her voice dropping. Kim Leo is mine. He's always been mine. So stay away from him, because when I'm done with you, you'll wish you'd never set foot in this country. Melissa laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Threats? Really? Is that the best you can do? It's not a threat. It's a promise. You have nothing. You are nothing. And nothing is exactly what you'll be when I'm finished. Melissa met her eyes, and for a moment, the mask she wore slipped. Tiara saw something in those dark eyes that made her take a step back. You're right, Melissa said quietly. I have nothing. I have no family, no name, no past. I have nothing to lose. And people with nothing to lose are the most dangerous people in the world. She smiled, and it was the smile of someone who had watched their mother die. Remember that. Kim Leo had seen them from across the room. He excused himself from his friends and walked over, his face tight. What's going on? He asked. Tiara immediately touched his arm, leaning into him. I was just saying hello, but Melissa was so mean to me. She said such awful things. Melissa opened her mouth to respond, then stopped. She wasn't worth it. Kim Leo looked at Tiara's face, then at Melissa's. He knew. He always knew when Tiara was lying. Don't pressure Melissa, he said, his voice firm. Whatever happened, I'm sure she didn't start it. Tiara's face twisted. You're taking her side. Fine. She spun around and walked away, her red dress trailing behind her. Kim Leo turned to Melissa, his expression softening. I'm sorry. She's always been like that. Melissa shrugged. I'm used to it. Later, after they got home, Melissa was heading to her room when Kim Leo called her name. Melissa. Wait. She turned. He was standing in the hallway, his face half lit by the soft lights. He walked to her, his hand coming up to cup her face. You look beautiful tonight. She saw that look in his eyes again, the one that had been there for years, the one she had been pretending not to see. Before he could close the final distance, she stepped back. Good night, Kim Leo. She turned and walked into her room, closing the door behind her. He stood in the hallway, his hand still raised, his heart pounding. If only she would give him one kiss. Just one. Inside her room, Melissa leaned against the door, her heart racing. It wasn't the first time, and she had tried to draw the line so many times. But tonight, she found herself thinking about the boy from the river. Her first kiss. She had placed her lips on his to save him. Was that her first kiss? She wished he was still alive. But here she was, living his life. Living the life that should have been his. She thought about her mother too. She had found her mother's grave years later, when everything had died down. She had stood there and promised to survive. She would keep that promise. Across the ocean, Lion's phone rang. He picked it up, and his grandmother's voice came through, weak and trembling. Lion, you need to come back to Korea. I don't have much time. He was on the next plane. By the time he reached her bedside, she was barely conscious. But she opened her eyes when she heard his voice. Lion, she whispered. I have to tell you the truth. She told him everything. About his mother. About the crash. About the car that had been tampered with. About the woman who had tried to save him. You are the president's son, she said. Your father is the president of Korea. And someone wanted you and your mother dead. Lion's world shifted. Everything he thought he knew was a lie. His grandmother died that night. He sat beside her bed, the silver pendant warm in his hand, and he made a promise. He would find the truth. He would find the people who had destroyed his family, and he would make them pay. Now, he was very rich. He had built an empire in America, a network of power and influence, and now he would use it to get answers. Tiara's mother and Seo Yun were old friends. They had dinner together often, planning their children's futures. They would be perfect together, Seo Yun said, sipping her wine. Kim Leo and Tiara. A powerful match. Tiara's mother smiled. I agree. They'll make beautiful children. Powerful children. Across the city, Lion's friend Minute J was hosting a 3-day party. It was at a private estate in the middle of a forest, the kind of place only the wealthy could access. A private jet could land there, or a private boat. It was the kind of event where Korea's elite gathered to see and be seen. Kim Leo and Melissa had been invited. When they arrived, they were shown to their room. It was massive and beautiful, with floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out on the forest. A king-sized bed, fresh flowers, champagne on ice. That night, they gathered in the main hall. Games were played. Champagne flowed. Lion hadn't arrived yet. Melissa excused herself. She needed air. She found the pool, hidden behind glass doors. Empty. Quiet. The water was blue under the lights. She loved the water. It reminded her of home. Of her mother. Of the night everything changed. She slipped off her heels. Sat on the edge. Let her feet dip into the cool water. Closed her eyes. Breathed. Lion had arrived an hour ago. He was in his room, looking out the window, when he saw her. She was walking toward the pool, her pink gown catching the light. He watched as she played in the water alone, laughing, splashing, completely unaware of him. He found himself smiling. What was that? He had never smiled at a stranger before. She was cute, wasn't she? Nope. He wasn't doing this. No distractions. His men were still investigating what happened to his family. He had heard his brother would be here tonight. Kim Leo, the son who had taken his place. He needed to focus. But he couldn't look away. Back in the main hall, Tiara watched Kim Leo laugh with his friends. Her eyes were cold, calculating. She moved to the bar and ordered 2 drinks. While no one was watching, she slipped something into one of them. She walked to Kim Leo, smiling sweetly. You looked like you needed a drink. He took it, not thinking twice. Thanks. They talked. She laughed at his jokes, touched his arm, leaned close. And he drank. Soon, he started feeling tired. His eyes grew heavy. I think I need to lie down, he said, rubbing his forehead. Let me help you, Tiara said, taking his arm. She led him to his room. He tried to push her away, but he was too weak. His legs wouldn't cooperate. What did you? He started, but the words wouldn't come. She pushed him onto the bed. He tried to get up, but his body wouldn't move. Tiara smiled. She slipped off her dress and climbed onto the bed beside him. He tried to push her away, but his arms were like lead. Don't fight it, she whispered. Just relax. When he woke, he was alone. His clothes were disheveled, and he had a pounding headache. Was someone here last night? He thought he saw Tiara. Maybe it was just his imagination. Across the room, Tiara watched from the shadows. She smiled, applying fresh lipstick. It had finally happened. He was hers now. Now it was time to deal with that nobody. Tonight was going as planned. She stared at her reflection, her red lips curved in a smile. Let the next show begin. Now that her protector was out of the way, let's see how Melissa survived this. To be continued. What happens next? What will happen when Seo Yun discovers the boy she thought she killed is alive? Will Kim Leo fight for Melissa, or will he stand with his brother against his mother? Let me know in the comments below what you're most excited to see in part 2. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next.